Welcome, everybody, to the Poppin' Report Show here on YouTube. More than 20 years doing this show, I've been on many apps, social media platforms, including Anchor FM Radio currently for my podcast, which you can check out, or poppinreport.com, my website. What fascinates me is, in those last 20 years using these various social media platforms and apps, is how fast most of the apps do not survive. If we look at Haps TV, for example, they came out in 21 last year as an alternative to Periscope when it went away in March, the end of the month. They said they were going to be a healthy alternative, and they made people use the Google Chrome browser if they had a computer. They made people use it on their phones just to go live. And go live if you had an invite, by the way, an invitation to use the app to try it out. Most people, they did not avoid the same problems that most people did if they actually tried it out. Going into the end of 2021, Haps TV went away. Now Pococha US doing the same thing. A success level in Japan, Pococha, is not necessarily going to be the same success level in the United States. You need a time machine. You need a time machine to truly find happiness in Poco Land in 2022. Because in 2021, everybody was happy. Everybody was supporting one another. Nobody was about the gifts. They were about hanging out, getting to know one another. But come, drum roll please, January 2022, the enjoyment, the happiness in Poco Land went away with Pococha US. It's nowhere to be found. People were spending money. They needed to put food on their table and pay their expenses. People didn't realize that, hey, no app is worth starving over. No app is worth having your lights turned out. No, you gotta keep that on. But the end result is, with the overinflation, with the number of downloads, allegedly, which then was confirmed in a turnaround effect with the Google Play Store. They wanted you to believe one number was reality, when in fact reality bit back, and it bit hard, and it said, no, you're not even touching 2 million downloads. You don't even have 1 million downloads. Your number isn't even 500,000. Excuse me. Your number isn't even 500,000. Oh, and by the way, you won't even get Pococha US app saying excuse me or giving any apologies anytime soon. That's because of the politics behind the app. They're not going to apologize for ignoring victims on the app, where you've got these literally vampires that are users on the app, so many of them, go around sucking the life out of the app, so there is no more happiness in Happy Land for Pococha US. It's fascinating when most of these apps try to steer away from actually following their own policies that say we're not going to allow the negative energy to get bigger and bigger, like the giant blob like he's seeing in the old black and white movie, The Blob. Well, they let it get big. I think it overtook the Marshmallow Man in Ghostbusters. I mean, literally, it's bigger than Godzilla. And Godzilla, if you know pop culture between US and Japan, Godzilla is really, really popular in Japan. So for them to have a monstrosity of an issue where there is no happiness, no fulfillment, self-fulfillment, true enjoyment of its application, the way most people had it in 2021 in US, they were happy in the prior year. In the current year, 2022, happiness is very hard to locate with Pococha US. It's all about the money. It's all about taking the money you needed for your utility bills, that you needed for your rent, you needed for your groceries, where many people spent all their paychecks on the app. They don't follow their own policies, their rules, and providing a safe environment as long as you're spending money on the application. If somebody's getting bullied, harassed, as happened to me in January 2022, first 2 weeks, with one person who had been a signed broadcaster, and I say had been, because going into the end of the month, they're not going to keep that status. I find out from a lot of people in high places and low places, as a member of the press for more than 20 years, that they went to their agency and were complaining about losing a contract. Well, karma comes full circle for a reason. When you are going around as an individual in the real world and you do horrible things to good people, karma comes full circle. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Don't do horrible things to other people, because you don't want to lose your virtual crown to be a virtual princess or king. You don't want to lose your virtual reward system, where for you, you just get the virtual gift that people spend money on, but they actually do not allow you as an app for you to cash out. Most users do not cash out. Most users found out they could not actually collect a cash prize. So here at the 8-minute mark, YouTube Live, it's fascinating what we go through when it comes to people trying out these live stream apps. Some of them make it, but most of them don't. Some of them make it, most of them don't. Some of them make it, but most of them don't, because they don't actually follow their own policies and rules. If they did in this app review on Pococha US, you would not need a time machine. Go back in time to the prior year, their first year, first 6 months, where even in 2022, they have not even completed their first year. Had they done that, done what they should have done and provided a safe environment and kept smiles on the faces of the users, the smiles on the faces of the users are not found in most places on the app, Pococha US. So you need a time machine to go back to 21, the prior year. Because the current year, 2022, again, you're not finding smiles on faces of most users. Most users from 21 also have walked off the app because it was no longer enjoyable. It was no longer safe. It was no longer fun for most people. People that are hanging back, that were signed broadcasters now, they're finding out that, their contracts are up. Pococha US, allegedly, is more focused on the independent broadcasters, and they want the independent to be the ones that bring the fun back to the application. But if the independent broadcasters are much, much smaller in percentage level and wise, and meaning most of them do not actually return to the app or find other apps far more enjoyable, then now even Pococha US will need a time machine to go back to 2021 to find the happiness they once had with their users where people were supporting one another. It will not just be the American users of Pococha US needing a time machine to go back to the prior year, the first 6 months. It will be the app itself, Pococha US, having to locate a time machine to go back to the prior year, 2021, and find the happiness that was there, but is no longer there in the current year with 2022. So I leave you with this in closing. Would you use an app that is toxic, that sucks the lifeblood out of itself, like it was attacked by vampires and had the lifeblood sucked out of Pococha US? Or would you go to other apps that actually allow you to have your happiness, your smiles, your enjoyment? Because my conclusion is apps, some more than other apps, are worth fighting for, but not the apps that are not fighting for you to have your happiness and your enjoyment. When you had said nothing but good things about the application in 21, but in a current year, 22, they're all about the money and not about the happiness. Even when you empty out your bank account to support the signed broadcasters or independent ones, and realize you still had your own personal expenses to pay first, which should always remain top priority. So I do not recommend this app because it is a toxic environment doing all these things. I recommend the app only if you can locate a time machine and go back in time to 2021, where there were happiness on people's faces. Where in 2022, it is no happiness in Happy Land or Poco Land with Pococha US. Focus on the new apps, the other apps, the new apps that are the new other apps, much better than Pococha US. Thank you for joining me here on this show. Been doing this more than 20 years. Signing off.